Good evening, everyone. On Wednesday, during Holy Week, we remember Judas Iscariot as he prepared and then agreed to betray Jesus. We read about this in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 26, verses 6 to 16. While Jesus was in Bethany, in the home of a man known as Simon the leper, a woman came to him with an alabaster jar of very expensive perfume, which she poured on his head as he was reclining at the table. When the disciples saw this, they were indignant. "Why this waste?" they asked. "This perfume could have been sold at a high price and the money given to the poor." Aware of this, Jesus said to them, "Why are you bothering this woman? She has done a beautiful thing to me. The poor you will always have with you, but you will not always have me. When she poured this perfume on my body, she did it to prepare me for burial. I tell you the truth, wherever this gospel is preached throughout the world, what she has done will also be told in memory of her." Then one of the 12, the one called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and asked, "What are you willing to give me if I hand him over to you?" So they counted out for him 30 silver coins. From then on, Judas watched for an opportunity to hand Jesus over to them. In this story recorded in Matthew's Gospel, we find two very different people: Mary Magdalene, the woman, and Judas Iscariot, one of Jesus' disciples. And in these two people, we see two polar opposite attitudes towards Jesus. We see the woman in her beautiful act of devotion. That's how Jesus describes it in verse 10. "She has done something beautiful for me." The woman with her alabaster box of ointment, which she poured over Jesus. We see a picture here of humble service. She focused on Christ, not herself. And despite what the disciples said, loss actually led to gain and to profit. Then we see Judas, and we see his pitiful act of betrayal. There he is, with his bag of silver coins, which he received for betraying Jesus. Here we see a person who is filled with pride. Here we see one who focuses on himself rather than on Christ. Here we see someone who thought he had gain and profit, but it was actually loss. Who points us to Christ through their attitudes and actions, but more significantly, who was like Christ in their attitudes and in their actions? Of course, it's the woman, isn't it? It's Mary Magdalene. She points us to Christ. She poured out her expensive oil, just as Jesus was going to pour out his life and blood on the cross. Jesus said that she points us to the purpose for which Jesus came, to die and to be buried for our sins. In verse 13, she points us to the gospel. She points us to the way of what it means and what it looks like to be a follower of Jesus. The scriptures make sure that her act of worship and devotion will never be forgotten. Well, as we journey through Holy Week to Good Friday, to Saturday, and to the celebration of Jesus' resurrection on Sunday, may we be like the woman and not Judas as we journey through this special week. Let's be like her, and focus on Christ, not ourselves. Humbly serve him. Point others to him. God bless you. Good night, everyone.